Not ready to continue, but we are in the middle of the page, a little bit above the middle of the page. The line begins Mamosh. But in order for us to continue, we have to finish what we were explaining yesterday, because you're essentially explaining the message that we learned yesterday. So I just want to go through quickly and read it inside.
From which line?
Huh?
From which line?
I'll say in a minute. From the line that begins Hamachriya. That basically touches on all the points. So he said, L'choira, it would appear questionable. If their opinion by them, by the two Dayanim, is in a Hakora manner, which is beyond question, not based on any kind of a principle of logic. And they're opposite one the other. How can they come to an agreement opposite of their own hakor as a result of the introduction of Das Hamachri, of the third opinion? However, the union is Lefisha Das Hamachriya. It is due to the fact that Das Hamachriya b'hakor shaloi, and his hakor b'hoinyan, who therefore moved to the Gamra Mehan, is in a totally remote manner from them. He comes from a different perspective, from a different plane. And he says again in Yiddish, Machriya nem dem Inyan gor anders. Machriya takes this principle, this Inyan, relates to it, gor anders, altogether differently. He comes from a different angle. He introduces, so to speak, the principles on a different level. Vehu, and what is this? What is the principal difference? It is that his hakora in this inyan, it is the way the inyan is above das. The tachlis idea, because we have this principle that tachlis idea, the ultimate of idea, hu bamesh loy noida. It is applicable, and it is identified bamesh loy noida in that which is not in knowledge. The lagabe hakorozu. Well, in the presence of this hakora of the third opinion, misbatim legamri, they become totally bottled, misardim b'deo achas, and they unite in a single opinion, mamash. They literally come to a single opinion. Okay, so yesterday we started discussing. There's a lot to discuss. First, we have to refresh the thing that we already discussed. The principle of hakora. We're saying that they have a hakora in the inyan, and we explained that hakora recognition applies to something that has an essential reality to it, essential truth, not based on certain ingredients, certain structures, but an essential reality. Like we say, you recognize a person. You do not recognize a person by any of his definable, identifiable features. Like we said the other day, it's a very important perception. You can feel your way around and identify everything that you see, except that which you recognize. You cannot identify in the dark by feel who the person is by feeling his face. One glance tells you this is him. What are you identifying there? You're identifying a spiritual element, the life element of the person, not his physical features. This is what we call personality. Personality. This is a neshama element. In other words, why are you alive? What is the significance of your life? What do you perceive as reality? That's personality. This is what you recognize in a person. What you recognize. And it happens that, as we speak all the time, pardon me, I must have some kind of an allergy or something. The neshama, this is a neshama inyan. Clearly, it's not a guf inyan. The neshama is mislabish in the guf, as we speak lately a lot. And to the extent that this subtle neshama inyan comes through and is identifiable in the guf. I want to bring up something that we recently mentioned a lot. We say, Kol davar yetzer b'kiyumoy. Everything wants to be mikiyumoy. We have said his own presence, what he is. And we point out, his nose is nicer than you. Would you like to exchange noses? Say no. I want my nose. Why do you want your nose? But he's got a nicer nose. It doesn't fit my personality. It's not a question of the physical nose. Everything, the neshama is mislabish in the guf, and the guf represents, in a most subtle manner, represents the life element of this person. And if you change whatever, you'll be very beautiful, but I spoke the other day, but he won't be able to relate to yourself. He won't recognize. You're not the same person. There will be a contradiction between who you are and what you look like.
So people who get their nose redone don't really live with themselves.
Well, that's right. They live through other people's eyes, not through their own eyes.
It's basically emotional problem.
So, Hakora refers to the reality of an Indian, not on its structure. Therefore, when you say that this Dayan has a Hakora in the Indian in this dispute, in this question, in this shaila, this brings us directly to the principle that Chassidus explains, that Seichel is based on Rotzen, based on Noineg, based on Nefesh. Seichel is not something that is constructed externally on the basis of expediency. And this also we discussed a lot lately, that everything, even an external entity like a table, is also an element, a human element that goes deep down into a very deep human quality, a personality element. Even to the extent that we say, Odom she'ele Beis ein Odom, which means it's missing the whole personality. How is this convenient? No. That it is rooted and it represents the very essential element of Odom. Ultimately, Seichel touches on that. When a person comes to say that he has a hakara in a certain thing, it means that his Seichel has been purified, has reached that level of purity that he actually senses what his nefesh tells him about this. It's not based on circumstance, on relative logic. What is the basis of that spirit, so to speak? That he has a hakor in the union. What is the basis? Where does that come from? That is rooted, as we said yesterday, in the profound principle that everything has a beginning. There's a motzoi rishon. And because there is a motzoi rishon, mamtze kol nimtzum, amit is motzoi nimtzum kol nimtzoim. That's why in everything there is a truth spirit. So we go with seichel, with logic, we go through all kinds of different gyrations and arguments and proofs and so forth. Ultimately, it leads us to recognize the amitis himotze in this element, which is the ultimate level of seichel. That's really true. That's really that's really real, so to speak. It's not just circumstantial. Where does the world get reality? From its creator. We even said many times, one-on-one is one-on-one. On the physical level, it's one-on-one. When we say it's two, what makes it two? What relates them? Because we sense deep down that they are two because they come from the same source. Because there is a relationship between them. And if you do not relate to that principle, that there is a kind of a basis, a source for them, then they will remain one-on-one. Noach Merenfeld talked to his professors, and he said, one-on-one is two. No, he said, no, one-on-one is one-on-one. They could not, because their mind had dissociated from principle. They see the world like an idiot. That is the principle of today's objective wisdom. The more idiotic you are, the more real you are. Therefore, one has to be one-on-one. To sum up, these dayonim, the seichel, the hakora, the insistence that this is right and this is right, is based on real truth that they recognize. Which means the origin and what is the basis of all truth, of all right and wrong. Then comes the Das HaMachriya, and he also has Hakora. But his Hakora is in a totally different level than their Hakora. And then a new a new sky opens up, new reality opens up. And as a result of that, they see this new reality where everything can merge together. We've discussed in the past an example for this Das HaMachriya, for two opinions in the Das HaMachriya. And I'd like to bring this in and we'll analyze that. There's a Gemara that discusses the following dispute. Two neighbors. One lives below the hill, and the other is on top of the hill. And the hill is pretty steep. The hill forms the wall, so to speak, of the lower field. And then there are produce, whatever it is, that grows from the wall of the hill, on the wall. Who does this produce belong to? Does it belong to the top, to the owner of the hill? Does it belong to the owner of the valley? So there are two opinions in the Gemara. Actually, it's in our Mishnah. This is all the way in the Mishnah. Two opinions. One said that it belongs to the topmost. Why? Because it's in his earth. And if he wanted to remove the earth, he could remove it and there would be no progress. And he has every right to do anything he wants with his earth. Then the other one says, no, the valley owner, it is growing out into his space. If he wanted to fill in his ground, he could fill it in. There will be no progress. So they remain at this standstill. Which means there's still two opinions. One says it belongs to the one who provides the space for it. One says it belongs to the one who provides the ground for it. And each one has a very solid perspective there. Since this is my ground, everything coming out from my ground is mine automatically. But this is my space. And I'm providing the ability for this to grow. You have no right to intrude into my space, obviously. And the halacha is that the Reshus HaYochid, the Reshus HaRabim only goes up to 10 tefachim. So Yochid goes up to Shemayim. If you own land, and I want to build on top of you in a balcony, man, I have no right. I have to ask you permission. So Yoch goes up to Shemayim. Ad Hatheim Shet Ad Hatheim, till the deep until the Shemayim. Whatever their insight that makes this one decide that it's the space and this is the earth, that's it. We're not going into this, but clearly they have a very fundamental they have a very fundamental basis for their opinion. Then comes the third opinion. The third opinion is very interesting. He says like this, that the produce that the one on top can just stand on top and stretch his hand down and pick up, That belongs to him. Anything below that belongs to the valley. So I want to explain to you. The Rebbe said beferish, the Daza Machriya is not a pshora. It's not a compromise. It would seem like a compromise. Let's not fight, okay? Let's do it this way. We have a cloud. You have to know the principles of compromise. The principle of compromise in halacha is that if you have a dispute and you come for the dayan and he wants to make a pshora, he has to ask you permission. Do you agree a pshora or not? A pshora is not something that the dayan can impose on him. A halacha he can impose. A pshora he cannot impose. He has to have compromise. And he cannot impose that. This is a halacha in Mishnah. It's not a suggestion for a compromise. So this is not a compromise. And it has, in other words, a fundamental basis for this compromise. Let's go into this and see what is this. What is the fundamental basis? To do that, I want to go back to talking about the two opinions. Now, as we speak all the time, the ownership of the valley and the ownership of the hill and the produce that goes there, this is not a conventional thing. This actually belongs to him because by Torah law it belongs to him. It's a godly decree, gift. This is his and this is his, and therefore you cannot violate it. How do you know that this produce belongs to him? The Rebbe gave him this land. Therefore everything in land, this one, the Rebbe gave him this land, so therefore in this land, this place. You can't compromise it. You can't violate it. The hakora element, this is the point. The hakora element does not come from the logic that they can each destroy the produce. The hakora element is from the fact that there's a truth in their ownership. Rebbe created the world and the human beings, and he gave the earth, the land, to the human beings. So there's
the fact that there's truth in the ownership is what led to the impasse, that both had truth of ownership there. The fact that now it was ruled that the one who can reach this far, another can reach that far, that still feels like another.
You're jumping the guns. I'm surprised at you. The fact that there is truth in their ownership, this is why there is a hakora. This is why the two Dayom are so stubborn. Let's look what is the right thing to do. No. Who does it belong to? Does it belong? The Rebbe should give this produce to the landowner. The Rebbe should give the produce to the space owner. And you can argue how do you pick produce? You dig into the ground, or you pick it up from the air? You pick it up on top of the ground. You can argue whatever their hakora is, but they had a solid hakora. This is true ownership by divine decree. Because the Rebbe gave land to the human being, and therefore you can't violate it. This is where the principle of hakora comes in. Otherwise it's just an argument here and there. Come on, let's stop being stubborn. The third, the Machriya, the opinion of the Machriya is coming from a different platform. The other two opinions, they come from the physical platform. Say this: in order to get produce, you have to have ground. In order to get produce, you have to have space. So I have ground, but I have space. How do I get this produce? As a result of the fact that I have ground. How does the Rebbe should give us produce? He give me land, and therefore I have produce. He gave me space, therefore I have produce. The third opinion says no. The Rebbe does not give land, the Rebbe does not give space. The Rebbe gives produce. That's what the whole thing is all about. The question here is not that the produce you get automatically because you have land or because you have space. The produce is an individual specific gift, also from the neighbors. A direct gift. Not as a result of you having land. From that perspective, it's a completely different view. Who did the Rebbe give this produce to? So he says, the Rebbe gave the produce to the one who can reach it. The one who cannot reach it, it's not his. It wasn't given to him. So you completely divorce it. You raise it the whole discussion to a different platform. They were saying the Rebbe gave me produce by giving me land. He says no, the Rebbe gave me produce. So he has a much higher perspective. Sorry. Each one has a hakora, and each one's hakora is based on the truth, on the godly truth. But the godly truth is infinite. Yes, indeed. Maybe she gave us land, and we have to go down. Start, like you said, you can go to Shomayim. What we say yesterday, you can go to Shomayim, provided you climb up the ladder. If you dissociate, if you just climb up, then you have no right to pass. You can't come and say, "Hey, who did Rebbe give this produce to?" No, that doesn't work. You have to go through the whole thing. And then that raises you up to Shemayim, you can pass on that basis. In this particular case, the Rebbe did not clearly give it to the landowner, nor to the space owner. Who then did he give it to? To the one who can reach it.
Mm-hmm.
The one who can reach it.
How was it said over there that you cannot just come and ask who was the fruit given to? Are we saying that it has to be as if it has to go through each position, each differing position, and then come the?
You have to go. It's a. First, you start off from the land, right?
Oh, you do.
From the land, from the Kashmir, what you have. How do you produce a produce? You have to till the land. You have to give it water. You have to have space. And then when you see that, but even there, you have to recognize hakora, that this is by virtue of the Mebish's gift. It's not just a physical phenomenon. That everybody recognizes. If it were not for that, we wouldn't be disputing it. Find it out. I don't care what happens.
So it's as if the dasana the Dayan Machriya has been through each of those other positions before.
Yeah, Dayan Machriya, right, he sees in it a completely different, but when do you see that? Only after you see that on a physical level, nobody was given this fruit. Then you see it from a higher perspective.
You've exhausted the physical perspective.
You exhausted the physical perspective. Although you cannot cancel out the fact that the Rebbe gave the fruit to somebody.
Dynamic there has to have gone through that process, or could he sees the emes, and of course that's the sort of basis of it, or he has to go through the...
He has to go through it. I explained this yesterday. You can't pass him a shadow because I believe that Rebbe gave it to you. Because Rebbe Shemayim, the shadow has to be passed on the basis of seich, the way things are presentable in the world. But within that, you have to have a hakol, you have to have a godly truth. This is the pshat. The Torah is mislavish in the world.
In other words, is it true to say that you should start from the rock bottom, and if you have an answer like on the most gashmi, so to say, level, you must take that if you're able to. You can't say I'm not gonna take it. I want to be more spiritual. Not like that.
No, of course not. That's your mind. That's your mind.
Right.
The Torah says, when two disputants come in front of the Rav, one is filthy rich, and one is dirty poor. And the filthy rich man says, "You owe me a quarter," and the guy doesn't have a quarter. So he comes to the Dayan. The Dayan cannot say to the rich guy, says, what do you want from me? What's the matter with you? You can't do that. You have to pass him that he owes him a quarter. What would be your approach with that Shomayim? You say, come on, do the right thing.
Right?
Do the right thing. The fair is a posik. We say that plain dough. Why the say that plain dough? Because Hamishmat Leilakim. Okay, so this is it.
The last piece, because it's Mishpat Elokim, you could argue that Mishpat Elokim is to do the right thing. In other words,
Mishpat Elokim, who Elokim created the earth. And it has to go all the way down. This is not. Elokim is Yimate Hateva.
Not Havaya.
Not Havaya. Elokim is the way it is in creation. If you're able to bring the Shomayim to the Oretz, that's beautiful. That's a Daza Machriya. But you can't go straight out.
It's just like people would come to the Rebbe with problems, and he would tell them to fix their tefillin. The people that he received the advice, or they could not relate to that in any kind of safer way. In other words,
Why not? So mission the Torah.
But the connection between one thing and the other, they didn't go through any kind of process.
The Rebbe says, if you do my mitzvahs, you will have all good. You have a mitzvah that you don't do, the Rebbe says, do the mitzvah. Which is it for today. Oh, today is Thursday, so meet him tonight. We will reconvene again, okay? Have a good evening, have a good day.
You mentioned that anything that is from the depths to Shemayim belongs to the owner. You cannot build on top. And then you went to this Das Amachriya, who says what you can reach. How do those two fit together? Because what the person from above could reach is in the column of going up to Shemayim.
That's why I explained. If you cannot determine the fruit itself is also a gift from Eibusher, just like the land is a gift from Eibusher.
Mm-hmm.
So who was the fruit given to? The fruit. At first you look at it as the Eibusher gave land, and the fruit is a byproduct. So he says no. The fruit is a direct product, a direct gift. Yeah.